So, good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr. Rakesh Agrawal, Secretary General, Risk Management Association of India, and Editor, Insurance Times Journal. So, welcome you all in today's live webinar on business continuity and resilience during and after COVID-19 crisis. Business resilience encompasses crisis management and business continuity and responds to all types of risk that an organization may face, from you can say cyber threat to natural disaster or man-made disasters. It also addresses the consequence of a major incident, and business resilience relates to the ability of the organization to adapt to the new environment and circumstances following that incident. Our today's speaker is Mr. NKV Roop Kumar, who is having 33 years of experience in leading multi-unit teams, handling critical portfolios in enterprise risk management, cybersecurity, data protection, business continuity, and fraud monitoring. Being an experienced trainer, he has vast industry knowledge and industry experience coupled with operations and marketing insights, and build new and contemporary systems and applications which are appropriate to the environment. Currently, he is the EVP Chief of Risk in SBI Life Insurance, and he is also the RMI Life Insurance expert. So, before I hand over the session to Mr. Roop Kumar, let me briefly introduce our organization, Risk Management Association of India. Risk Management Association is an NGO engaged in the promotion of risk management culture in India. RMI has taken this onerous responsibility to create a platform for risk professionals, insurance professionals, bankers, corporate to exchange latest news and resources relating to risk management and encourage research and development and provide certification to members and provide courses on risk management. Here is a list of our governing council members. We have experts from the industry who are doing tremendous job to help us in our venture to promote the risk management. We have advisory council member where people from uh, having lot of experience from the industry have joined our board. Then we have RMI industry experts from different fields. They are from banking sector, corporate sector, life, non-life, all sectors. So they are also actively participating in advising and in the routine daily activities of the board. We have brand ambassador in different countries. There is a list of membership categories that we have. A person can enroll in different categories depending on his experience. In our website, rmaindia.org, we are trying to build up a resource center where we are providing link to all risk management resources. So there we have a link for international bodies, all latest research reports being published from all over the world. We have link for that, videos on risk management and related areas, risk management courses. We have number of tie-ups with different bodies. Any member can do those courses. Then international certification. We are trying to compile a lot of case studies on risk management. We conducted this seminar, Risk Management Challenges in New Era Way Ahead, in 2019 in Mumbai. So this was quite a good event with participation of more than 200 industry people. And we publish this quarterly bulletin, risk management bulletin, which covers all latest developments about risk management in India and abroad. Our group also publishes Insurance Times, which has entered into 40th year of publication is 2020. And we also have these two knowledge portals, beemabazaar.com and bankingfinance.in. So here you can get all the resources related to insurance and banking. And we have the sashipublications.com, where we publish a lot of books on insurance and related areas. So you can visit the site for latest publication. So for more details, you can visit our website and view the related information. So we will soon start the session, and we will have the question answer session at the end of the session. So please keep the questions brief, and preferably one question would be allowed for one participant. And today's closing thoughts would be given by Mr. Sanjay Kumar, who is the Joint Secretary of Risk Management Association of India. He will also moderate the questions. And also, please do not forget to share your feedback at the end of the session. So now I will hand over the session to Mr. Roop Kumar.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you, Rakesh. I'm sorry. Yeah. I think slides. Can I have the slides, please? Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. I think it's a Sunday, a quiet Sunday for all of us. And maybe it's time to think about the way forward in the business continuity for all of us. Because after what the Prime Minister had mentioned, the 20th will be the day when partial opening will take place, and next month 3rd will be the day when the Indian economy finally starts running, hopefully full steam ahead. So my name is Roop Kumar, and I am the Chief of Risk, Information and Cybersecurity Management in SBI Life. So in the last 20-25 days, it has been a torrid time. We have been dealing with something which is unprecedented in the annals of business continuity history. So, what happened is, whenever we review business continuity initiatives for the year, we look at the top risks and the functional risks, and then we look at pandemic risks. And in pandemic risks, in our jargon, typically risk jargon, we call it a 1 in 200 year event. And we generally try to provide for them in a very simple way. We either do a financial provision or we try to take some insurance against it. It's a 1 in 200 situation, and guess what? It has happened. So it is both an exciting time and a challenging time for risk professionals, because pandemics is something that any risk professional would be dealing once in his lifetime. And it has happened, and it's a wonderful time to test out all the theories and test out the preparedness of the systems. So what I have done is I'm giving a brief background of the impact of pandemics, defining business continuity and resilience, and then the test of crisis management and resilience of the organization. I'll be talking about resilience because that is the most important concept right now, and the way forward. What is going to be next? So let us look how we can prepare for what is going to be next. All right. So what happens when a pandemic strikes? I mean, when the pandemic issue is there. Financial impact. When you look at the financial impact of for a company, the fundamental thing is the profits and revenues get affected. The revenue flows almost drop down. See, the pandemic that we are facing now is unprecedented in scope and nature. Whenever any business continuity scenario is envisaged, we think of a pandemic for a state, we think of a pandemic for a country, we think of a pandemic for a region, but never ever have we ever thought of a pandemic situation occurring where the entire world shuts down? So the primary impact is on profits, because whatever goods and services that you're rendering, you will not be able to sell. There'll be no turnover, and the people who want to buy a goods, definitely they defer it, or if you have a financial instrument, they will tend not to pay it. So profits and revenues are the first things that get impacted. The increase in OPEX, because you're coping with new situations, new technology, unprecedented expenditures which are not budgeted for. So OPEX expenditure gets hit, and then cost of recovery and restoration. That is still unanticipated. What will be the cost of recovery and restoration? And then we need to have the finances for that. We need to have the systems up and running. We need to have our manufacturing processes in place. And then the cost of contingency planning. Contingency planning is an exercise and is a cost. Drop in solvency for insurers. There's going to be huge payouts which are unanticipated and unbudgeted for. So solvency margins will get rapidly affected. Insurance premiums, they will also be revised upwards, and maybe pandemic premium will be revised upwards, and maybe death claim and other premiums which have
Mr. Roop Kumar, we can't hear you. Yeah, please wait. He would be reconnecting. Hello. Yeah. No, the voice is not there. Camera is also not showing. Okay. No, I'm speaking on mobile. or you can just restart the system. Mr. Sanjay Kumar, you can just come in.
Yeah.
So already we have Mr. Roop Kumar is reconnecting, so we can a bit give a thought on the subject.
Yeah. I think what Mr. Rup Kumar was saying, that the impact of the coronavirus is basically onto the. It is not only just in the Indian context, but it is in the global purview. Yeah, and in the context of the insurance, it is Mr. Is he coming?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think he's back now.
yeah, I'm back in.
Okay.
Okay, then I think Mr. Roop Kumar will continue the session.
Yeah. I'm sorry that there was a disturbance in between. Uh, and now I will continue with the session. So as I was saying, the profits and revenues get affected. There's an increase in OPEX, cost of recovery and restoration, fall in share prices. I think every company is experiencing that. And then business impact, supply chain disruption globally. This is unprecedented in nature and scope. And reduced employee response. I don't know how many of you have experienced it, but if you want an employee to come to the office, there is a reluctance. And then efficiency also comes down because of so many nature of restrictions during the functioning, production halt, investment on infrastructure and facilities management. Totally, the entire dynamics of this investment changes. Then, so how do you deal with this? The best way is to go ahead with, the definition of business continuity. So I wanted to start with that. The business continuity planning definition says a holistic management process. So it's complete in 360 degrees that identifies potential threats. So what are the future threats? We should anticipate that and the impacts to business operations of these threats, and if realized might cause, and which provides a framework for building organizational resilience. So business continuity always thinks of resilience. And what is resilience? We look at it in the next slide. With the capability of an effective response, the company should have a capability of an effective response that safeguards what? It safeguards the interests of its key stakeholders, shareholders, customers, employees, the government, the organization. So the key stakeholders it will safeguard. It safeguards the company's reputation. End of the day, that is what will help in rebuilding the company's brand and the brand value and its value creation activity. So this is what is business continuity planning. And let us look at then, because business continuity planning looks at organizational resilience per se. What is organizational resilience? That's a new term. So COSO also speaks about organizational resilience. ISO also speaks about organizational resilience. Resilience is the ability of an organization to absorb and adapt. Absorb a shock, major or minor, and adapt in a changing environment. The environment before the issue which happened, and the environment after it totally changed. So it has to adapt to a new environment and deliver on its objectives, fundamental objectives. It should be able to survive that particular situation and also do well after that. So it has to not only to survive, it has to adapt, and it has to prosper. It has to do better. Prosper means you have to do better. So more resilient organizations can anticipate and respond to threats and opportunities. Now, whenever there is a thing like a coronavirus pandemic, do you think there's an opportunity here? I think there is an opportunity for many companies. For example, infrastructure companies, or example, the internet people who are handling the internet. I think there's a huge opportunity for 5G growth. So, and there is a huge opportunity to expand medical facilities, to do testing facilities. So every major problem presents an opportunity, and whether the company can seize the opportunity, change its business strategy, change its objectives, and move ahead, that is resilience. So enhancing resilience can be a strategic organization goal. So when a company plans its strategic organizational goals like we do, we have a short-term strategy for a year, 3 years, and 5 years. So resilience should be part of the strategic organization goal, and flexibility should be part of the organizational goal. And good business practice, effectively managing risks. All right. So this is the uh, cycle, the Deming cycle. You put it in the organization resilience context. So it is continual improvement. That is the Deming cycle, and it should always be addressing your customer needs, governing your business, running your business, valuing your people. Ultimately, people are the biggest assets. Protecting brand reputation. If you need to rebuild, if you need to restructure, if you need to go into a new area of operation, brand reputation is critical. Supply chain continuity, that disruption, supply chain disruption, whatever you may have, if the supply chain disruption is there, for a short term is okay, but for a long term, it can bring down the entire organization. Minimizing security risks, both physical risks and also information security risk. Right now, in a completely globalized world, on an internet-based world, like how we are talking now from home and talking to all of you, listening to all over India, and maybe some from outside, I don't know, but information security risk represents the single biggest risk. And how do you handle data communications safely and information safely becomes the future challenge. And mitigating social risk. So when you are working in a decentralized world, social risk becomes very important. Safeguarding people, employees should be safeguarded, your customers should be safeguarded, regulatory compliance. The regulators will be trying to manage the entire environment, and compliance to the regulation becomes very, very critical. Trust and reputation, infrastructure, managing and securing information. The most I know that very well. Repeated statement: data is the new oil. Anyway, oil is losing value day by day. So data is the new gold, because gold is gaining security day by day and value day by day. So I can say, I can change the data is the new oil to data is the new gold. So operational resilience, supply chain resilience, and information resilience, these are the critical areas which will result in organizational resilience. So let us go ahead and look at these things more in detail. See, when you think about resilience of an organization, if you look at this graph, whenever any organization tries to take care of the risks and that prevent it from achieving its objectives, it is in a stable state. You budget for known risks. You budget for risks that you know or you have experienced. But unanticipated risks like the coronavirus threat is completely unanticipated, and that will result in a downturn. So that's why when there is a downturn, you need to absorb that stage. You should be able, the company or the organization should be in a position to absorb the impact of that, and inevitably there will be a downturn. And then there will be a stage where is a disrupted stage, like what we are experiencing now. Sometimes you know how long the disrupted stage will happen, how long it will continue. Sometimes you may not even know. So right now, the current situation in the coronavirus stage is the disrupted stages that we really do not know how long this will continue. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. And if our country recovers, then will be another country which is impacted, and the supply chains will get again disrupted. And what will be the global effect, and what will be the effect on the organizations, we are not in a position to predict. So in the disrupted state, the company should be able to survive. I told you it should be able to survive. So, and it should not completely come to a standstill. A basic minimum activities needed for running the company and for communicating with the customers, keeping the customers with you, that process and infrastructure should be in place. Once that is there, then the recovery phase will start. And then afterwards, the objective of resilience is not to get back to where it was before, but to look at the new opportunities that have come up post the disrupted stage and encash the opportunities and go ahead. That is the adapt phase. Okay. So this is the resilience of an organization, and every risk manager, every business continuity manager, every senior manager, all the senior management and all the boards should be looking at how these things can happen for their individual companies. Okay. So during the crisis, what do we do? So I think many of the organizations will have a business continuity policy because mostly it is mandated by the regulator. So you have a business continuity policy, but do you have within the business continuity policy a crisis management plan? So, for example, maybe in my organization, we have a business continuity policy, and within that, we have a crisis management plan. And this will get invoked automatically because it is part of the policy. So what will the crisis management plan do? It will lay down the procedures. For example, as soon as the crisis occurs, like the pandemic which is occurring now, so before that we had clear indicators, that is in China, and the clear consequences of the coronavirus was being evident, and then it hit the European countries. So that those were the lead indicators. So the moment the lead indicators come in place, the crisis management plan should be invoked. And when the crisis management plan is invoked, the company goes into the crisis management mode, and the crisis management team gets into operation. And the crisis management team is generally headed by the chief risk officer or some senior functionary, and there should be a deputy crisis manager. For example, in some of the hospitals, suddenly the entire hospitals got quarantined, so right from the top to bottom. So there should be a deputy crisis manager, and there should be members in the crisis management team who are taking up various functions like corporate communications, legal, compliance, and then the key marketing personnel, top management functionaries, and the finance head. These people should be necessarily be part of this crisis management team. And why should a crisis management team come in place? Because the existing SOPs are no longer relevant in a crisis. So you will have to interpret the existing SOPs, amend the existing SOPs, and actually plan for the unforeseen events and quickly react to the upcoming events. That is why when there is a pandemic, the crisis management team literally takes charge of the day-to-day decision making of the company, and the others will be going into a self-sustaining mode. That is how it should be handled. So one of the key things that any risk management principles, and one of the key things is that communication should be there. Communication with whom? Communication with the employees. All the employees are distributed all over the country. How are you going to communicate with them? Communication with the key stakeholders, communication with your board. The board is very worried as to what is happening. Are you handling it correctly? So the communication with the board becomes critical. Communication with the customers. You have to retain your customers, inspire confidence in the customers, tell them the truth, tell them the facts, tell them the company is able to manage the situation, and this is how we are managing situation. And then that inspires confidence. So you need to have various modes of communication. You have to see what is the most appropriate communication in that given context. Is it web based? Is it going to be SMS? It is going to be WhatsApp? It is going to be radio communication? You have to see what is most appropriate for each type of stakeholder and then communicate accordingly. Engage with customers, retain them, let them have confidence in your products, in your instruments, let them keep those instruments alive. Let them continue to buy your products. Or if they don't buy your products, tell them we will service the product. So this is very, very important. And as and when you communicate with the customers, a lot of queries come, and these queries have to be codified into an FAQ, and that should be available for the stakeholders. That is very critical. So the proactivity and reactivity, two of the most important characters of a resilient company is proactivity and reactivity. Companies should have invoked the crisis management as and when they saw the coronavirus epidemic happening. That is before even the country had declared a lockdown. The companies, for example, in my company, we had 5 meetings of the crisis management committee before the lockdown occurred, and all the basic systems we put in place. So like that, you should be proactive, and then once the when the pandemic hits, reactivity should be there almost on daily basis, almost on instant basis. The communication should continue. So that is what is most important. So let us look at the next aspect of it. Collaboration with the national, state, local agencies, regulators, social obligations. Now, we need to be compliant because the government and the national, state, local agencies in a pandemic situation, they are dealing with it. They have access to information that we are not privy to, and they have access to information which what is upcoming, and they know what are the resources which are there, what resources will be there in the future. So we need to collaborate with them, and we need to comply with the regulation. Not only with that, we need to exercise the social obligation that the company has, so that the society at large knows that this company is also socially responsible. Very, very important. And it should not only be the objective of a company in a pandemic situation, should not only be to safeguard the company, but safeguard its stakeholders, that is the customers also, and also the society at large. So that is where you display your maturity as a corporate citizen of the world. All right. And we have to, one very important thing is, I told you, supply chain disruptions. We have a lot of third-party suppliers and vendors. Most companies have. You have telecallers. You have people who do a lot of your work, 30 to 40% of the company work or more. You should see that they are safe. You should see that their systems and processes are secure, and the data handling or the product handling of yours should be secure. So that also you should have a look at that. All right. Then see that the disruption is avoided at any cost. Even when it comes to people aspect, people first approach, health and well-being of employees. The HR team should be very proactive in calling, proactive in understanding the health and well-being of the employees. And workplaces should have adequate arrangements for temperature screening, sanitizers. There is an incident in US where there was a beef processing factory. The single largest outbreak has come from there, because though the epidemic was on, the factory continued to function. They put some measures in place, but not all measures. The single largest epidemic came from that big factory. So we should ensure not only the health of the employees, but adequate safety to them, security, sanitization, because an infected employee would infect many, many more in his local area. So hospitals and clinics where in your area should be also informed, so that if there is a crisis in your company or in your workplace, you can immediately access that. And then transport facilities, then companies, medical insurance, and then timely two-way communications. All these things should be taken care of. And then non-essential travel should be restricted. If work from home is possible, let it happen. Work from home, that is the safest way. Travel to and fro should be minimized, and travel to and fro should be done only when there is an absolute need. And meetings, all of us are used to the traditional way of meetings, meeting face to face across the desk, meeting in large gatherings, socializing. That is the way we conduct our business, and that is the way human beings do their business. Now that should be restricted. Large gatherings, there is a clear cut directive, more than 5 or 10 not permitted. But for the safety and interest of all, this should be moving online. They should move online, or even if face-to-face meetings are to be there, then the basic precautions should be observed. So that is one thing. It is instinctual to have large gatherings. I think it should be consciously avoided. So that is one thing that I feel. And technology, yes. Now, in a decentralized world, in a world where we work only on internet, on Ethernet, so we need a pandemic command center. So the pandemic command center, where should it be? Should it be that some people will be sitting there and manning the pandemic command center? Yes, possible. But that is not the right way. The pandemic command center can be a group, can be a discussion group, can be a chat group, anything like that. And then that pandemic command center should be taking many of the key quick reaction decisions, of course, with the consonance with the top management, with the managing director, with the board. But the primary assessment of the situation, the primary reactions that are to happen should come from the pandemic command center. So rapid decision making should be happen, and it should be reactive. There is no SOP. All your SOPs don't work in such a situation. And then event monitoring should be there. Collaboration should be there. Dissemination of rapid changes that are happening should be there. And there should be a business impact analysis. Then what another very important thing for the company is, just before and during a pandemic crisis, you should prioritize critical functions. For example, in insurance, you need your central processing unit to be functioning effectively. You need payments to be made continuously. This is the time when the customer requires money. So you should see that your payments are going out correctly. You should see your actuarial valuations are happening. You should see your, for example, your finance and accounts should be working effectively. You should see that you're regulatorily compliant. So for all these things, you should see that all the critical functions should be in place and functioning either in a decentralized way, or they work from home, but they should function flawlessly. So at least 1/3 of your entire workplace should be functioning, and that base level of continuity and should remain in the company. So key employees should be functional. They should have access to information and data. People, process, technology, data facilities, third parties. Now that is what we have to see. Then geographical segmentation. One of the biggest challenges the coronavirus has thrown up is, you have a central processing center, you have a backup facility elsewhere. Now both are in trouble. If you have your central processing in Bombay and you have your backup in Hyderabad, both are shut down. So how do you do this? So then you need to re-examine the entire way you handle your data, maintain your data, process your data. Do you need to go on cloud partly? Do you need to go on cloud for critical applications? Do you need to have multiple processing centers? Do you need to have a sort of decentralized distribution? That needs to be re-examined now in the light of what is happening there right now. You have to invest in new technologies. You have to test the new technologies. You have to train your people on the new technologies. And when you are having people who are on virtual private networks, do you need to go for VPN? Do you need to go for virtual desktop interface? You will have to evaluate. And if data is moving from your central server into the laptops of your employees or critical personnel, how safe is that data? How are you moving the data? How is your investment data safe in a decentralized environment? Are your VPN secure enough? Is there any virus threat? Is there a threat of ransomware? Is there a threat of hackers? Now, your information security should be on high alert, and then your technology should be rapidly adopted to not only to the current situation but to the future. So there will be huge changes in technology, a huge investment in technology for the future. Okay, then you need so I was telling you that multiple data centers may be needed, real-time data replication. These things are on to be needed, and they should be monitoring the data, DLP, data leakage prevention, things like that should also be there. Then you should have a crisis management exception approval process. It should be codified. It should be part of your crisis management policy, so that whenever any deviations are there, it should not go through the formal process, because reaction time is critical. You may have to sometimes react in minutes. So the crisis management team should have the authority to take a decision and get it ratified later on. These are the things that should be done, and whatever changes that are made should be codified and noted in minuted, so that they can be looked at in future, and all changes should be applied on the upcoming policies and upcoming strategies of the company. That is what is very, very critical. So technology infrastructure, I told you, you should have monitoring tools like endpoint sanitization, inventory reconciliation, antivirus patches updation, data leakage prevention, how you secure a BYOD, build your own device, compliance checks, auditory checks, sample checks. All these things should be done, and they should be at a very heightened level of awareness. And then do's and don'ts, when you're reacting with the situation as is developing, the do's and don'ts also should be continuously updated and disseminated both to the customers and to the users and to your employees. So what is the future for us? Continual improvement, that is what is needed. Every crisis throws up threats and opportunities. The threat you have to deal with, ensure your company doesn't collapse, at least goes to a stable state. And then in the crisis, from every crisis comes an opportunity. So look at the opportunities and prepare your company during this crisis time for opportunities. What are the few new opportunities that are coming up? What are the online opportunities that are coming up? What are the new challenges that are coming up? What is going to be the new economic world order? What are the companies that will thrive in times of recession? What are the companies that will thrive in the times of a recession and maybe a lockdown? What are the companies and what are the products, more importantly, that will be useful in the time of consolidation? Can your company go into that? You have to look at that, because the needs of the customer is going to rapidly change. And in times of recession or suppressed growth, what are the products that they'll require? What is the style of products they require? What is the frequency of the products they require? This is what you have to look and adapt your company to grow with that. So prepare now for the future scenario. That is what I'm trying to tell you. And the indicators are pretty clear. There's going to be global recession, or there will be very light growth. There will be, a sort of clamping down of the borders. There will be a period of less spending. There will be a period of spending on essentials. And most of the migrant labor which has gone back, they will take time to come back and relocate and restructure. So all these challenges have to be factored, and the company should make, or the organization should make use of this time to anticipate and prepare for the future, prepare its employees, prepare its customers, and also prepare the boards for the new environment, upcoming environment. And digitalization is going to be the way forward. And when when you cannot enter your office, and that is an unprecedented situation all over the country, then digital is the way. Are you digitally ready? That is what you have to check. Is cloud the way? Is fat pipes VPN the way? Is 5G the way forward? Is decentralized manufacturing the way forward? We need to look at all these things for ourselves. And then self-isolation is a new concept. The fun part is the entire way human society will interact and behave is going to change. And when that is going to change, their product needs and their lifestyle needs also going to change. How are we anticipating that? That is what is going to, we are going to look at it. And it's going to be an exciting time. And it's going to be, I think if we can adapt to it, I think if we can adapt our companies to it, we can look forward to extremely bright future. But you have to see, you have to smell your way forward, see where the opportunities, you have to smell the opportunities. Okay? So you need to, from business continuity standpoint, scenario testing, tabletops, take all the learnings of the existing things and build new scenarios. Revise your policies, revise your product lines, revise where you are manufacturing your things or where you are located. I will look at that. Then build in pandemic into your testing and governance, and also brief your C-suite executives how to behave in such crisis. I think nobody is having experience. It was all theoretical till today. 1 in 200 years occurrence has happened. I mean, very, very exciting times for the risk manager because you are experiencing what is theoretically you have learned. And include your third parties in your scenarios and your training. Okay? And then financial stress testing has to be done and see that how the reserves are working. Are the reserves kept aside actually practical or not? Is it insufficient? Communications, pandemic planning considerations, crisis communication plans have to be revised. So these are the things that you need to do now. Prepare for the future and prepare for the upcoming opportunities. That's what I would like to place. All right. So again, my slides are saying the same thing, that standard SOPs, complete restructuring needed. Employees, retraining is needed. New tools to be developed. And then monitoring of the situation, the way and the style in which you monitor situations has to change. Briefings to be increased. Pandemic training should become part of the annual curriculum. That is how we should react to this crisis. All right. So I will just be closing this with organization resilience is a journey and not a destination. And it can be an exciting journey. And as crisis managers, as ERM professionals, as BCM professionals, we are the people in the spot, and we are the people whom everybody looks to. And how you rise to the challenge is what matters. All right. So Sanjay sir, I think I can take some questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, Mr. Swan.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Rup Kumar, for this wonderful presentation. And when you were talking about the scenario testing and the resilience, so recently I read an article given in the one of the journals, and that article was coming from the experience of NHS in UK. What it was talking about that few years back, they had done scenario testing and found that they are not ready to deal with a particular situation. So one of the findings was that had they prepared, you know, of, from the output of that scenario which was coming it out about the preparedness, the situation would have been very, very different. Like So you're absolutely right. I think doing scenario testing or simulating the scenarios is very very important. But what is more important is what it come out of that and act upon. My
Yes.
experience and personal experience is that um, we do a lot of stress testing even in the financial world, right? But those stresses remain stresses and generally not acted upon. What is your experience on that?
Yeah, when you do stress testing is, you build all these stress test models and scenario test models on based on past experience. That is the whole problem. And then because the company has not experienced these things before, they remain an academic exercise, and you generally don't provide properly for such situations. And then training is one thing which gets hit. So how do you anticipate something like this? That is the problem. But once it happens, then only you can create proper scenarios and do proper stress testing on these, because the data is not available for you to do proper provisioning or proper stress testing. That's what I feel. And a pandemic is a situation where maybe if you do proper scenario testing, you can at least ensure that you can a certain base level of response is there. That's what I feel. But it's all largely uncharted territory.
Yeah, my question is that yes, I know it is uncharted territory, right? But if I have created one scenario, right, and I know that these are the shortcomings,
Hmm.
so I'm saying that even after identifying the shortcomings, those shortcomings are generally not removed.
Yes. Yeah. If you identify the shortcomings, the challenge is to place it before the board and see that you get the funding for that to mitigate those shortcomings. I think that is a skill of the risk manager.
I think the voice that is coming it out, after this COVID-19 and being, looking at the world, from the different risk managers across the world,
Yeah.
what people are finding is that there are holes in the risk management framework,
Yeah.
which is not inducing the decision from the decision makers.
Yeah.
It is a nice, playground with rules, right?
Mm. Mm.
But generally, the rules remain rules. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why between 2008 and 2019, the risk management has basically not worked at all.
Yes. What has happened is risk management has become a sort of a statutory or a compliance exercise, and
Yeah,
the boards also did not give cognizance. Now it's like this. So whenever there's a ransomware attack, you have the attention of the board, or whenever there is a pandemic, you have the attention of the board. So the risk management generally has to make use. People who are risk professionals have to make use of these opportunities to strengthen the risk framework of the company, because generally a risk framework is not in the top priority of the management. It's events like these which bring the importance of risk management. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of attention to risk management right now and business continuity, and this is the time when every risk manager should use this opportunity to put in place strong processes within the company. Otherwise, generally the attention to that is not that high.
right. I think you mentioned that 1 in 200 scenario is is already
Yeah.
crystallized.
Yeah.
Mr. Shin asked the question that with SARS, Ebola
Hmm.
virus,
Hmm.
and COVID, right?
Yeah.
Uh, do you think that 1 in 200 years scenario, right, should be revisited?
Yes, I think so, because this is happening in quick succession. And we tend to slot things. We think this is a 1 in 200 year scenario, but SARS, COVID, Ebola has happened, I think, once every 2-3 years. I think we should not take this so less seriously. We should take it quite seriously and evolve proper methodologies and systems and provide for these events. It is highly likely that it may happen and again. In a globally connected world, the transmission of these events is so rapid. It's so rapid. I think we should not take it as a 1 in 200 years scenario. I don't think so. I think we should provide for pandemics as a matter of routine. That's what I feel.
Yeah. Another question, is coming from Mr. T.R. Mendiretha.
Hmm.
He is asking that, because aviation and hospitality sector is greatly impacted,
Yes.
right? So, what's your view on, on these sectors, that how they can respond?
Aviation is the lifeline of any country. Aviation is needed for movement and transportation, and also when the tourism industry revives, aviation needs to be in place. You cannot, in my opinion, this is strictly my opinion, you cannot afford to let them sink. It's very cost intensive industry. They have minimum capital fixed costs every single day, and I think the government needs to take very effective steps to keep them alive, because when the economies restart, aviation will be the single biggest driver of economic growth, and hospitality industry is the foundation to our tourism industry. It also has huge employment of the formal and informal sectors. Much of the informal sector in our country is dependent on the hospitality industry, the tourism industry. Hospitality is not only dealing with foreign tourists. There is religious tourism in India, which is 50-60% of the total tourism in India. If all that needs to be revived, they have to be taken care of by the country. And during this time of crisis, the government should take adequate steps to see that the basic infrastructure is preserved and they can be ramped up very quickly. I think Mr. Mendiratha has raised a very pertinent point. If these two collapse, the economy will take very long time to recover.
I will just, take two more questions.
Yeah.
One is, I think it's coming from Ganesh Iyer,
Hmm.
that is work from home is going to be the new normal.
Yes, it will. It will be the new normal. And for example, if you take my own company, we didn't have a single work from home person doing work from home before the lockdown. Now we have more than 2,500 people doing work from home. Now it makes sense to have work from home because that gives the alternative in case of any crisis. And then work from home now stands tested that essential processes can happen from work from home. So my recommendation is every company should have a budget for at least 30% work from home at any given point of time, because that will give this alternate to many of the crisis situations that we are facing. It is the new normal, and I think for that you need to have the bandwidth, and you need to evolve the new protocols, and you need to secure this entire work from home environment. Not only that, it will help maybe just take it a little lightly. In a place like Bombay, if 30% of the people are going to work from home, at least we can reach offices and get back to offices faster and not get caught in the traffic jams. And so work from home is going to be the new normal, and all companies are going to create this infrastructure.
I think, the companies do not require to set aside the budget, but in fact, they are going to save out of the budget the 30%.
Yes, eventually there's going to be savings. This is what I feel, because even say, for example, office infrastructure, you need not build, so much of office infrastructure and so many. That will be a big advantage, and then efficiencies will grow once the protocols are in place. Efficiencies will grow. So, for example, again, I'm taking Bombay. We spent 2 hours of our life traveling. So, the efficiencies will grow. The efficiencies will grow, and the employee satisfaction levels will grow. And, the cost of, say, a physical meeting will come down. Cost of travel will come down. So, I think companies will benefit from work from home. This is my considered
Yeah,
opinion.
definitely, because if you save 1 hour per day, right,
Hmm.
you save something like 6 48 days per year, right?
Yeah,
That's a saving. It comes straight from your travel time, right?
absolutely.
And another study says that the efficiency increases by 18 days. So
Hmm.
if I add the two, it gives me 66 days of additional productivity if it is work from home, over and above the saving of the cost of the 30%.
And another thing is the satisfaction of the employee. That also matters.
Yeah. One, yeah, one last
Yeah,
question, I would like to take from Aditya,
yeah.
who is saying that how does the company is going to respond, in particularly, in this lockdown era, the new business will go down,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
How does, the companies are going to respond in this situation?
New business. I'm thinking he's talking about maybe insurance business. I'm not
Insurance,
sure.
yes, yes,
Insurance.
yes.
Uh, See, it is new business. See, what suppose you have to always look at yourself. Now, if you are having insurance, now in a post-lockdown era, what sort of you do you think, or don't you think that insurance is needed? You think insurance is needed because you have seen the medical costs that can be incurred, and you will also think that savings are needed because your savings are getting stretched. So I don't think new business will go down. I will give you a personal example. When we were handling Northeast at the time of insurgencies, insurance business boomed in that area because the threat perception fuels insurance. So maybe the product will change. It will be medical related products, maybe it will be term assurance products, maybe it will be something like that. So we have to look at what is the new need of the person. I was telling you that there will be different perception post the lockdown era. So we have to see what is the different insurance need and devise products for that. It will, I think the business will not go down. But one thing is important. The renewal premium which is coming in for the existing policy base is coming from the customer's savings. The companies need to preserve the renewal premium flowing in, because that will give them the turn that he will give them the liquidity and also the investment income. So to preserve the renewals, you have to be very dynamic. You have to give them some flexibility in payment. You have to approach them personally, tell them that insurance at the time of crisis, especially in a high health crisis, insurance is the need of the hour. It is now. So once they do that, take care of the existing renewal base, and look at what the customer needs for the future. I think it will boom. This is
Yeah,
my
Mr. Sanjay, if I can just chip in.
yeah.
Yeah, I think there is one question which is very interesting. So, in this work from home, there may be instances of breach of data. So, there is
Yeah.
one question from Mr. Pragyan Mohanty.
Hmm.
So, how to handle that? Because you need to give data to your employees,
Yeah.
and the whole your setup goes haywire.
Yeah. See, there are very good technologies to deal with that. Previously, we used to all people. The standard way to do it was work VPN, virtual private network. But then data download could happen. Then now the new technology is the mobile device management (MDM), where the entire data will be locked into a secure folder where he cannot export the data or misuse the data. Otherwise, the even more better technology coming as virtual desktop interface, where the person logs in to your central server or to your servers. He does not download any data. He only sends commands and he can only see the results on the screen. So data leakage can be avoided. There are sufficient and more technologies to avoid data leakage. Only one thing which you cannot avoid is somebody takes a photograph of the screen from his smartphone. That is a risk you got to carry in the new scenario.
And
That's a
but maybe in case of small companies, those kind of digitization might not be possible. So that challenge needs to be looked into.
The technology is not very expensive, and
Okay.
I think I think it is a cost the company has to incur if its critical assets need to be safeguarded. If the existence of the company is going to be threatened, this needs to be budgeted. That's why I said the
Definitely.
OPEX will change. But then the long term, they will gain. They will gain. This is what you have to see. There will be expenses in the short run. And every company, big or small, will have to invest in technology and in cloud and in work from home. It's
Yeah,
an
I think
expense.
the last question we can take is from Mr. Binod Atreya from Nepal. Do you see the global community will favor closed economy or principles of self-sufficiency to revive from this pandemic?
Uh, Initially, I think they are going to close. They are going to prefer closed economies. Initially, I think that trend was already there. The trend was already there, where the countries will try to preserve their industry, and they will preserve, try to prevent hostile takeovers. They will try to diversify their supply chains. Now, this is one thing that is going to happen, because right now China is the manufacturing hub of the world, so the diversification of supply chains also they may think of, diversification of strategically important products they will look at. They may initially harden the borders, but once I think this is not a very long lived sort of lockdown. 6 months maybe, most of the economies will be back on track, and then slowly the expansion will happen. But globalization to regionalization, that is the trend that is going to happen. The globalization as we know it 4 5 years back may not continue in the short term. Long term, I cannot predict. I'm not a soothsayer.
Okay. Okay. So, Mr. Sanjay, you can just we can if close down. We are already running short of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Rupkumar, very much thanks, for your this insightful presentation. And
Thank you.
I would just, touch upon the key points that he has highlighted, right? One is that, this is one of the most unprecedented, the scenario when the entire world is got engulfed in this pandemic situation. And for the business resilience, the resilience is about the continuity of the business so that it can absorb the shocks and it can go on. One of the things that he has, pointed out that during this pandemic problem, uh, the compliance is to be maintained. There should be a safeguard of, the customers. The disruption should be managed, right? Safety of the employees, right? All these things are necessary. Apart from that, the problems, the opportunities has also arising, and as
Correct.
a result of that, that should also be embraced, right? From the future point of view, there's going to be change in the landscape, right? So new opportunities are coming. uh, Continual improvement is one of the things that he has,
Yes.
emphasized, right? And I think spending, onto the spending side, there will be slow spending from the, those who have, going to restart their business. Then they may be, slow initially in having their expenses, right? Digitalization is perhaps the way forward, right? And as we have discussed, that the information and technology is going to play a key role in the future. And one more thing which he has mentioned is about the 5G. So once 5G comes into the picture, it will become very easy to navigate through, especially uh, given the whatever little challenges that we may have currently, right? So I would like to thank Mr. Roop Kumar for his, presentation, and I would also say that there are lots of questions coming and the observations coming. So what I have asked Mr. Dr. Rakesh is that to basically take up all the observations and the question and put it in a form of a PPT and make it a part of this presentation, so that the observations and the questions that has been asked is preserved for the future. Because when the session goes live, the thought comes, and those thoughts should not, die down. So my suggestion is that such things should be preserved for the future, and it could be good one of the research topics for the future in the people. So thank you, Mr. Rup Kumar, and over
Thank you.
to Dr. Rakesh.
Yeah. Yeah, we will definitely do that. We will include the observations in our video. So thank you, Mr. Rup Kumar. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Sanjoy, for moderating the session. And thanks all participants for joining such a large number. And we will have a small feedback after the end. You can do that. And then next week we will come out. We have a session on a panel discussion on health insurance and life insurance. So there we will be discussing on the effect of COVID on the both the sectors. So see you again. Have a very good time. Stay safe. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
The first question is from Siraj Dudekula. I hope I got the name right. In business continuity, how corporates can achieve this in various ways: people safety, continued stakeholder relationship and engagement, preparing for the next year crisis based on risk forecast. Now, Siraj, what I wanted to explain is, if you want to have continuity of your business, then these are a must. That people safety is the first parameter that has to be taken by any industry, and then you have to build the stakeholder relationship and engagement on a continuous level during the crisis and after the crisis. And the next near crisis, you've got templates, you've got models, you've got real live examples. Based on that, you have to build the new templates. So once you do this, you can prepare for contingencies for the future, but then you will be able to build for contingencies that you have already experienced. But those which come up in unexpected ways, for that you need to build resilience. The second question was raised by Vivek Gupta, and he asked what will be the positive impact of this pandemic on life insurance industry in India. Vivek, definition of risk says risk implies deviation from desired outcome, positive or negative. And risk also represents opportunity. And those who identify the opportunities in such a situation, it gives them a market advantage. So, what companies should do is to understand what is the new need of life insurance from the customers and be very quick to devise the products which will echo this new need and take these products to the market. I think they will derive a market advantage. So that way, whenever there is a risk or uncertainty, people are inclined towards insurance products, but probably not the type of insurance products we were selling in times of plenty or prosperity. So that is what the company should look at, and that is what the CRO should orient the companies towards. Also, increased awareness towards pandemic planning, crisis management will be there, and then increase investments in technology and infra. It will be a technology world in the future, and focus will shift from it will shift to e-business, online business, and ultimately it may result in greater efficiencies and reduction of OPEX. I hope this answer would be okay for you. The third question was raised by Ganesh Iyer. He said, Rup, while BCP may work from the process point of view at the back end, how do you see basic life insurance sales itself, especially for agency-driven companies? That's interesting. And how will the BCP work on the field? I had already given part of the answer to when I replied to Vivek Gupta. So I will give a reply focused on agency. The agency driven companies, they need to do. They need to first create new products that are actually wanted or needed by the consumer. After that, they should go in for extensive retraining program for their agency field and see that they know how to do the sales pitch for these products. And the third most important thing is the product should go online. and servicing should go online, because customer contacts will get minimized. And how do you canvas online, sell online, and then also service online? They should move the agency force into that, and less interface with the branch, less interface with the customer, or a minimal interface with the customer. That is what they have to do. So I think the future lies in orienting the sales force towards smart products, smart servicing over smartphone. That's what I think, Ganesh, is the way forward. So let us see. It will be interesting how companies transform their retail agency forces. The fourth question was raised by Rajat Kumar Swami. Rajat asks, does a template of BCP for every type of organization exist? I think that's a valid question, because we do not have any prior experience on these sort of COVID sort of situations. Rajat, there are ISO 22301. There is a generic template. But what I would move you to is the Business Continuity Institute of UK, which has a number of templates. So I think you can go either subscribe there or go to their website and have a look, and then probably you will get a BCM template. However, you need to take that as a basic template, and then you need to tweak it as per the business model, organization strategy, and requirements of your company. Hope that's fine with you. The fifth question comes from Ganesh Iyer again. He asks, do you see work from home as a normal process going ahead, thereby causing a real estate price crash? Then probably we'll need a different BCP for work from home process. So I think there are two questions here. Ganesh, work from home will be new normal. But I don't think that, going to the office and working, that will come down significantly. I think once normalcy is restored, most of the companies and industries will resume from where they are. But they will budget for work from home, and probably some portion of it, maybe 10 to 15 or 20%, will shift to work from home. But then that will not cause a real estate crash, because already the real estate scenario is affected by slowdown, regulations, RERA, they're adjusting to RERA and things like that, and the real estate is already quite depressed. So I don't think there will be much of an impact on that, and in the short term I don't see much of an impact. Maybe long term it is to be observed. I hope that's fine with you, this answer. The sixth question is by Sanjeev Shanbag. Is the insurance sector bringing specialized pandemic insurance coverage in general and business interruption health in particular? Sanjeev, few are in the pipeline, and even IRDA has encouraged insurers to bring out such covers. I am sure that in the future pandemic will be a vital part of such covers. So I think it was going to happen. Okay, thank you. The seventh question was raised by Rajat Kumar Swami. Rajat says, what if global countrywide internet servers fail? So is there any alternative of digitization? Well, this is what all Hollywood movies talk about, the doomsday scenario where, the entire world gets attacked and the entire world is under threat. It's an extremely remote possibility. It's not even a 1 in 200 year phenomenon. It is much more than that. So, Rajat, if such a thing happens, there will be no such world as we know it, and no BCM and no BCM manager will have any work to do. Everybody will be busy trying to survive. So, this is very, very remote, and the chances are very poor. So, what we have to go in is, now we have BCM, we have backup systems, we have to look for alternate backup systems, and also move some of the critical functions into cloud also, so that most of your contingencies are getting covered. So I hope that's fine, and let's see if such a thing happens. Then maybe we won't even have any digital facility or any other facility to discuss the matter. Thank you. Question number 8 was raised by Anis Pathan. He says, in times of such crisis, how are the trends towards automated underwriting? Artificial intelligence driven algorithms will not be able to adapt for this shock in pricing. Now, he's right in that sense. Automated underwriting has become the norm, and artificial intelligence driven algorithms is the norm. But artificial intelligence can create algorithms if it has use cases on which it can depend upon. So either those use cases need to be built, or the data has to flow in with such contingencies, or we have to intervene. Artificial intelligence is not the be all and end all and the only solution. Human intervention in times of pandemic and catastrophe and crisis is essential, because there are a number of parameters which like perception, experience and all, which cannot be built into artificial intelligence. So eventually artificial intelligence will be able to deal with this, but in times of crisis it's the human intervention that becomes vital. Okay, Anis? Question number 9 has come from Sivakumar Krishnan. He says some companies have gone into new product lines in times of pandemic in order to meet the changing demands. What are the criterion they need to account, like training, redeployment of resources? Will they be able to come to the original products once the pandemic is over? I answered part of this question, that retraining, restructuring, reorientation, when I was speaking on the earlier questions. And now, so when I look at this, retraining, redeployment of resources is a must, and you have to see where the opportunity lies. That's how companies will need to restructure. And will they be able to come to the original products? I don't think it can ever happen, because the world is now moving digital, the world is moving online, and the risk perception of the customer has changed. His needs have changed, and I do not think we fully understand what is the risk perception and what is the risk need or the life insurance need of the customer, how he is thinking. We need to be very alert to find out that, and maybe we need to restructure again. Okay? I hope my answer satisfies you. And finally, question number 10 from Nitin Jain. Nitin asks, how does the issue of pandemic impact as increase in OPEX ratio? Because in current scenario, all offices are closed due to issue of coronavirus. How it contributes to increase in OPEX? So the thing is, the inflow of income will be less than outgo. That is the first thing. Even for the short term, or maybe even for the medium term, we cannot predict these things. And because insurance premiums are paid from disposable income, that's what we have to remember. And disposable income is not there or is diminishing with most of the customers. Now, even though the offices are closed, some overheads, indirect costs will be there. Many brick and mortar offices are there. Salaries continue to be paid and claims continue to be serviced. And the investment income also is dropping dramatically in the short term. Medium term and long term we are not yet sure. So cost of restoration, investment in technology, training on new technology, reorienting the market field forces, regaining the confidence of the customer, all these are cost intensive. So there will be a definite increase in OPEX, Nitin. So I hope, friends, that I could answer some of your questions. It's an absolute pleasure to do this sort of a thing, because you all have stimulated me into thinking in new directions also. So thank you for a very observant and very insightful audience. Thank you.